At number 10, we've got the Nike Calm Slide. So this slide first released last year, and I think a lot of people were expecting it to be similar to the Yeezy Slide in comfort. However, even though the shoe kind of looks like the Yeezy Slide, it is nowhere near as comfortable. And to be honest with you, with the Calm Slide, I don't think Nike was trying to create a super soft underfoot cushion. I think what they were trying to do is create a decent all-around slide. And I'll be honest, if you like a firmer underfoot ride, this is not a bad way to go. First of all, you've got a rubber outsole, so it's going to be durable. It's going to last longer than some of the other slides on the list. And second of all, because the foam is firmer on this shoe, it's actually got great arch support. I have high arches, and that's one of the reasons why I like Birkenstocks, because they give you that great arch support. This shoe is similar in that it does give you some arch support, probably more than any of the other shoes on the list. Unfortunately though, it's not that soft underfoot. It is soft-ish, but it's not like plush. In addition to the durability and arch support, there are some other benefits to the Nike Calm Slide. The first is that it comes in at a relatively reasonable retail price of $50, which sure, might be more than you usually spend on a pair of slides, but it is cheaper than most of the other slides on the list. It is a more premium option than what you usually find at Target or Walmart. Visually, it absolutely has some Yeezy Slide inspiration, but I do think it's a clean, simple slide that's easy to rock in a lot of different situations, and in my opinion, it's one of the best looking slides on the list. Fit-wise, I would say that this shoe fits true to size, albeit weirdly narrow for a pair of slides. So if you're grabbing a pair of these, if you have normal width feet or maybe narrow width feet, go true to size. If you have wider feet, you might go up a half size, but I really think it depends on your foot shape. And of course, if you have the chance to try the shoe on first before you buy it, I'd absolutely recommend doing that. Number 9, the Adidas Adilette 22. So as the name would suggest, this shoe first released back in 2022 and is sort of an updated take on the classic Adilettes. So I think what Adidas was trying to do with the design of these shoes, because obviously it's inspired by the Yeezy Slides, was create a pair of slides that they could sell instead of the Yeezy Slides if Kanye did end up leaving Adidas. He obviously did end up leaving Adidas, but the Adilette 22s never really became as popular as the Yeezy Slides were. And personally, I think there's a couple reasons for that. First of all, the price point is not the cheapest at $60. For a pair of Yeezy Slides, $60 kind of makes sense because it's hyped up and also it's very comfortable. The Adilette 22s are not as comfortable. They're definitely firmer, maybe a little bit softer than the Calm Slides. And styling wise, yes, although they are cool and unique, it's not a pair of shoes that I would throw on every single day because I just don't know if the styling works with every fit. Plus, some of the colorways that they've dropped are kind of weird, like this sort of almost Georgia peach colorway. It's not bad, but it's not my first choice. It was just one of the only colorways that were available on the website. When it comes to fit, the Adilette 22s do fit true to size, and as I already mentioned, the ride is somewhat firm, so if you like a firmer ride but relatively decent arch support, this is not a bad way to go. And even though these slides aren't as popular as the Yeezy Slides, I still think they're a good looking option that a lot of people do have and enjoy, so I don't think it's a bad way to go. Especially if you like the way it looks and you're looking for a firmer foam slide. Number 8, the Salehi Bembury Crocs Pollex Slides. Now I've got to be honest with you, this is probably one of the least comfortable pairs of slides on the list. And I can hear a lot of you already typing, if it's not that comfortable, why is it even on the list? Well, it's on the list purely because of its visual appeal. So as you might have guessed, this shoe is a collaboration with Salehi Bembury, and it's based on the Salehi Bembury Pollex Crocs, which released a couple years earlier than this shoe. And last year, when I dropped my last top 10 slides list, this shoe was actually very difficult to find in store. The good news is, now in 2024, you can actually buy pairs of these for retail. And if you want to grab pairs for yourself, I've made sure to link them through the YouTube shopping tab on your screen. For example, this white colorway, you can grab this for retail right now. Now, the reason that I like this pair of shoes so much is because it's so interesting looking. First of all, the outsole of the shoe is Salehi Bembury's fingerprint, obviously done in a semi-translucent rubber. And as with the standard Salehi Bembury Crocs, the texture from the outsole actually wraps up onto the upper of the shoe and creates this really abstract pattern. And I just love the way that this shoe looks. In the style department alone, this shoe would definitely be number 2 or number 1 on the list, but obviously because it's not that comfortable, I had to knock it down a couple notches. That being said though, it's not uncomfortable, but compared to the other slides on the list, it's just not that soft. Oh, and I guess I should mention sizing. Unlike a lot of the shoes on this list that fit true to size, this one unfortunately fits big, like a standard pair of Crocs. In Crocs, I usually wear a full size down, so I'm a size 9. I usually wear a size 8 in Crocs. When it comes to the Salehi Bembury Pollex Crocs slides, I also go a full size down. So this is a size 8, like I said, I'm a size 9, and it fits a little bit tight, but way better than a size 9 would fit. And when it comes to slides, I prefer a slightly small fit to a slightly large fit, because with a slightly large fit, you have the slides falling off your feet all the time. With a slightly small fit, they're just a little bit snug. Now, of course, pricing wise, because these are technically a collaboration and they're a little bit more hyped up, Crocs does have them priced a little bit higher than I think that they should be. They come in at a retail price of $70, and for that price, I wish the midsole had been a little bit softer than it is. But with all that being said, I still think it's a good looking pair of shoes, and it's not uncomfortable. So if you're looking for a pair of slides to rock that look cool, this is a great way to go. Number 7, the Crocs Mellow Recovery Slide. So this is one of the simplest but also cleanest and most comfortable foam slides on the list. It's a standard pair of Crocs, it's not that exciting, it doesn't look that amazing, but it gets the job done. And for a price point of 50 bucks, it's not a bad deal, especially when you can find pairs of these on sale all the time through Crocs' website, which I've linked at the top of the screen to the YouTube shopping tab. There might be a sale right now, I'm not 100% sure. But the Mellow Slide is made up of light ride foam, which is very soft and also very comfortable underfoot. This is probably one of my most worn pairs of shoes in my collection. I personally wear it almost as much as my Yeezy slides. I've actually had this pair for like 2 years at this point, and I absolutely love it. It just doesn't have that pizzazz that some of the other shoes on this list have. And if you're into that, maybe this isn't the shoe for you, but if you're looking for a reliable, very comfortable, very clean, very wearable pair of Crocs slides, this is a good way to go. And I think actually last year, this was the number 1 shoe on the list, but this year, there's so many new options, I had to kind of bump the shoe down a little bit. Number 6, the Crocs Echo Slides. So this shoe definitely seems to draw inspiration from Salehi Bembury's Crocs collaboration. And while I don't think it's a bad looking pair of slides, I don't think it looks anywhere near as good as his actual slides or his Crocs. That being said, unlike the actual Salehi Bembury Crocs, these Crocs are significantly more comfortable, albeit ugly. Oh, and of course, like most pairs of Crocs, these do fit big, so go down a size. So this slide is made up of a couple different foams. You've got a stiffer foam on the exterior of the shoe for durability, and then you've got a much softer foam on the footbed for added comfort. I believe the name of the foam on the footbed is Croslite foam. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And it's one of Crocs' most soft and well-cushioned foams, and it does feel amazing underfoot. And I kind of like the idea of a dual density slide because you get the durability on the exterior of the shoe, and then you get the softness on the interior of the shoe. And there's gonna be more shoes like this on the list, and I like them a lot, so you'll start to notice a trend. But overall, I think it's a relatively winning formula. I think it's a great way to get the best of both worlds. This shoe is also relatively breathable because you've got some ventilation holes on the top. They don't look amazing, but they get the job done. Like the Crocs Mellow slides that we just talked about, these are very, very light, and they also come in at a retail price of $50. However, I know for a fact right now on Crocs' website, they're on sale for like $37 through the YouTube shopping tab on your screens. So not a bad time to buy these. I'm sure they're gonna go back up to regular price sooner than later, and then probably go on discount again in the future, but something to keep in mind. Sizing wise, like other Crocs, yes, these do fit large, go down a full size. These are a size 8. That's just the way it is with Crocs, unfortunately. When it comes to their clogs and their slides, they all fit a size big, so I usually just always size down no matter what the situation. But yeah, overall, very comfortable, just kind of weird looking. Number 5, the Ufus Uwa. I feel like that's the only way to say it. So from what I can tell, Ufus is a newer footwear brand. In fact, I wasn't even familiar with them until last year's Top 10 Slide video, and I found one sitting in the front of the Champ store, and I grabbed it because I was interested, and then I tried it on, and I'm like, wow, this shoe is comfy. Obviously, last year the brand was doing pretty well, but this year it's continuing to explode. I grabbed this pair on Amazon, and it's one of the best-selling pairs of slides on Amazon. Now, to be fair, the Ufus Uwa is expensive, and it also sounds like you've got gum in your mouth whenever you try and say the name, which I hate it. I hate the name. So this shoe is made up almost entirely of what they call U foam, which is probably some form of EVA that's very, very soft. According to them, they have some sort of patented footbed design that reduces knee pain, which is definitely a good thing, but I think that design includes this being a rocker shape, which means that you're gonna kind of roll into your steps. There's a pretty big drop between heel to toe, and if you don't like that, this might not be the move. That said though, the foam that they use on this shoe is ridiculously soft and comfortable. The more that you stand in this shoe, you're like, wow, this really compresses underneath your feet. Is it as soft as shoes that are coming up on the list? It's very close, but maybe not. The top 5 shoes on the list are all incredibly comfortable, so it's kind of a toss-up when it comes to comfort. But it's just kind of ugly. I gotta be honest. Because the shape of the outsole is this, I just think the silhouette of the shoe is just kind of whack. It's a very, very basic looking pair of slides, except it's not basic in places that I think it should be basic. There's a lot going on, and I just don't like some of the ventilation holes in the strap. I'm not gonna go in on the visuals of this shoe. I don't think it's trying to look like this amazing pair of slides. I also don't think this shoe is for sneakerheads like me. I think this shoe is made for people who just want an incredibly comfortable pair of slides, and if that's you, this is a great way to go. However, the retail price on this shoe is high at $60, especially for a pair of Amazon slides. That's kind of high, but realistically the comfort is worth it. Sizing wise, I'd say that this shoe fits pretty much true to size as most of the shoes on this list do, and I don't think it's a bad shoe. I just don't love the way that it looks. And again, this U foam, I hate to do this, but ooh, feels good. I hate that. I hated that. Number 4, the Adidas Adilette Comfort. So you might be looking at this pair of slides thinking, that looks like a standard pair of Adidas slides. What's the deal? Well, although the Adidas Adilette Comforts look like standard Adidas Adilettes, they're actually significantly more comfortable, as you might have been able to guess from the name, Adilette Comfort. Construction-wise, these shoes are exactly the same. You've got a rubber outsole and then this sort of synthetic leather strap, but where the Adilette's comfort shine is actually in the footbed. Compared to a standard pair of Adilettes, which are pretty stiff underfoot, these shoes feature a very, very soft foam. I mean, realistically, one of the softest foams on the list. I'd say as comfortable or as soft as a pair of Yeezy slides. Maybe Is it softer? No, I don't think so. Almost as soft, if not as soft as Yeezy Slides. But that's not the only reason why the Adilette Comforts are so great. The other reason is that these shoes only cost $35, which makes them the cheapest pair of shoes on the list. So for the price of a 2-person Chipotle meal, or maybe a 1-person if you get guac, you can get a pair of shoes that feel incredibly comfortable underfoot and look pretty clean. Obviously, because the Adilettes have been around forever, there are a bunch of different colorways of the shoe that you can grab, and I go to the Adidas outlet a lot, and I see pairs of Adilette Comforts on sale all the time for like $20. So in my opinion, this shoe isn't just a good budget option, it's an excellent budget option, and it's probably one of the most comfortable shoes on the list overall. The one problem that I have with this shoe isn't really a problem that I've had that often, and that of course is the strap. It's a very cheap material, and in some cases it can sort of scratch against my feet, but it doesn't happen that much. And for $35, I'll look past it. And I guess if I had to point out one more thing, the footbed is relatively thin, so it can bottom out if you walk heavily or step heavily. Which doesn't happen that much, but if you're a heavy stepper, it might be a problem for you. But overall, for the price, I think this shoe is worth it. Sizing wise, it fits true to size, and the good news is, if you don't like the way that it fits, you can just return it, get your $20 back, or $35, whatever it ends up being, and just get a different pair in a different size or a different color. Number 3, the Adidas Yeezy Slides. Yeah, I know, these shoes are discontinued. You can't technically buy these from Adidas anymore, and that was actually the case last year, although there was just a restock a couple days ago. But moving forward, you can't buy these new anymore from Adidas. That said, the Yeezy Slide is still one of the best pairs of slides out there, and now you can grab it on the resale market for around retail because they just released a bunch of stock over the last couple months. So the original retail price of a pair of Yeezy Slides was $60, and obviously a couple years ago these shoes would go for way more because there just wasn't a lot of pairs available. We're talking like $200 to $300 for a pair of slides. Nowadays though, because so many pairs have flooded the market because Kanye and Adidas no longer work together, that you can pretty much grab most colorways of this shoe for like $70 to $80. Of course, there are still some older colorways which still go for like $200 to $300, but some of the more basic colorways you can grab for pretty cheap now. And man, if you haven't tried a pair of Adidas Yeezy Slides yet, you are missing out. There's a reason why this is probably the best selling pair of Yeezys ever. First of all, the shoe is a one-piece construction. It's all injected EVA foam. And because there's no parts that are sewn on or attached or glued on or whatever, this shoe is incredibly durable. I have like 4 pairs of these and I've worn them for years, and the only problem is that eventually they do wear down on the outsole, but it takes longer than you'd think. But the reason the Yeezy Slides are so high on the list, even though they're completely sold out, at least for retail, is because not only are these shoes incredibly comfortable underfoot, I mean this foam is stupid soft, but they also look incredible. And realistically, if you're going for a sort of hypebeast slide fit, the Yeezy Slides are really the only option on this list. Like I said, I have like 4 pairs of these, and I've got a pair at every entrance of my house, just so that whenever I go out, I can throw them on really easily. They look great, they feel great underfoot, and you just can't go wrong with a pair of Yeezy Slides, man. It's crazy. When it comes to fit on the Yeezy Slides, I usually go true to size on these shoes, unlike a lot of other Yeezys where I go a half size up or a half size down depending on the situation. With this shoe, I go true to size and it fits me great, so that's usually what I recommend when grabbing a pair of Yeezy Slides. Again, unfortunately, this shoe is completely discontinued, which means that we're never going to be getting new pairs of these, but if you do want to grab a pair of these, there are like a bunch of different colors available as long as you like more earth tone browns and grays and some blues. I guess there is also a neon green and an orange, but they're pretty expensive. I don't know. If you haven't tried a pair of Yeezy Slides yet, now is the time to grab them because now I think is when the price is going to be the cheapest. Number 2, the Hoka Aura Recovery Slide 3. So the Aura Recovery Slide comes in at a retail price of $60, which is actually pretty middle of the road compared to the other shoes that we've talked about in today's video. And the reason this pair of slides is so high on the list is because it's incredibly comfortable underfoot. I mean, sure, it makes sense. Hoka makes incredibly comfortable shoes, and their slides are no different. So the Hoka Aura Recovery 3 is made up of 2 different foams. On the bottom half of the shoe, you've got a more standard EVA foam, which is pretty soft underfoot, but it's definitely durable. And the top half of the shoe is made up of a much softer EVA foam that kind of feels like a pillow underneath your feet. And because of this dual foam construction, you're getting the best of both worlds. Now, I've got to be honest, I don't love the way that this pair of slides looks. I don't think it's a bad looking pair of slides, but compared to some of the other shoes on the list, I just don't think it's the best looking. However, the comfort really makes up for it on this shoe, and the fact that this shoe is so incredibly breathable. Yes, it is a pair of slides, so a lot of your foot is exposed, but because you get these ventilation holes on the top of the band, you are getting more breathability than you are with a couple other shoes on the list. Now, when I bought this pair of slides, I went with the black pair to keep it simple, but there are a bunch of other colorways that Hoka has available, some of which are actually pretty cool, and I probably should have grabbed those instead, but I just felt like black was the safest choice. In terms of sizing, the Aura Recovery 3 does fit true to size, so that's what I recommend if you're grabbing a pair of these for yourself. And as the name would suggest, this is definitely a pair of recovery slides. It gives you sort of a max cushion feel, which is something that you want after a long run. But realistically, if you're not a runner, that's no problem. Grab these shoes anyway, they're very soft underfoot. There are two things about this shoe that I think you might really like or might really dislike. The first is that this is a very tall pair of slides, like you're gaining almost a solid inch on the heel of the shoe. And the second is that this shoe definitely has a very rocker feel. Like you really get that rocker vibe, which a lot of Hoka sneakers have, which I guess does make sense that their slides would have sort of a rocker feel. So if you're not really into that, maybe pass up on this one, but I do think it's a great all-around pair of slides. And if you want to grab it, links in the screen. Number 1, the Asics ActiBreeze 3D Sandal 2. This is not only the most comfortable slide on the list, but in my opinion, it's also literally the coolest. And that's because a large portion of this shoe is actually 3D printed. That's right, the entire footbed of the shoe is actually fully 3D printed. Now, although this is crazy cool, this is not the first time that Asics has 3D printed a pair of slides. In fact, this is actually the second generation of their 3D printed slide. Weirdly enough, the first generation of their 3D printed slide is actually fully 3D printed. There's no part of it that's molded. And I don't know if you guys caught my review of this shoe a couple years ago when it first came out, but this is genuinely one of the coolest pieces of footwear I've ever owned. For those of you not entirely familiar with what 3D printing is, essentially it's a printing method, kind of like a regular inkjet printer, but rather than printing flat images, you can stack layers and eventually create a 3D thing. Not only is 3D printing cool because it allows you to take a 3D file on your computer and make it a physical thing, but it also allows you to manufacture products that could not be manufactured through regular manufacturing processes like injection molding or compression molding or something like that. In fact, the original Asics ActiBreeze and even the new Asics ActiBreeze would literally not be possible if it wasn't for 3D printing because of this lattice structure. But not only does this 3D printed design look cool, but it's also incredibly functional. First of all, this shoe allows for unparalleled breathability because not only are you getting air through the strap on the top of your foot because there's so many holes, but also up through the bottom of your feet because of the holes. And the material that they 3D printed this shoe in is crazy soft, plus because of the pattern that they use to create the structure, it's also very springy. But at this point, I know some of you are questioning, why is the original ActiBreeze Asics slide a fully 3D printed slide, whereas the new one is only partially 3D printed? And there's actually a good reason for that. This original ActiBreeze slide was pretty expensive because 3D printing is not the cheapest process at the moment. But price wasn't the only issue. The other issue is that because the shoe is designed like this, like a lattice structure, it allowed for things on the ground to actually get sucked up through this and eventually get to your feet, which when it comes to things like dog poop, you really don't want that touching your feet, especially when you're already wearing a piece of footwear. So what Asics did with the brand new ActiBreeze 3D Sandal 2 was give us the best of both worlds. The part that goes under your foot is still fully 3D printed, which means you get that crazy breathability, you get that intense softness. This is the softest pair of shoes on the list by far, and you also get some nice springiness, so you feel like you're springing into the next step. But instead of fully 3D printing the slide like last year, they actually molded an outer shell which has a normal traction pattern on the outsole, so less sliding around. Not only that, less chances for dog poop to get up underneath your feet, and also it makes the shoe cheaper because they're using less 3D printed material. So you're getting that crazy softness, you're getting that unparalleled breathability, and you're getting a shoe that's actually more wearable because you don't have to worry about things getting stuck underneath your feet. Plus, it's cheaper. This shoe comes in at a retail price of $90. Yes, I know $90 isn't cheap for a pair of slides, but compared to the original, yes, the shoe came in at a reasonable retail price. I think it was also $90. The problem was because the shoe took so long to 3D print, they only made a few of them, and they were very expensive to buy in the resale market. I paid $300 for this pair, whereas this one, I could just go on Asics website and buy it right then and there for $90. And again, if you guys want to grab the shoe, link at the top of the screen. And sure, I'm biased. I'm an industrial designer who loves 3D printing, so any 3D printed shoe I'm going to be into. But realistically, this shoe really is the best use case for 3D printing. They 3D print the parts of the shoe that can benefit from being 3D printed, and the other parts, they mold like a regular shoe. And honestly, it works. It's very comfortable, it's very breathable, it looks good. Sure, it doesn't look as cool as the original because it's not fully 3D printed, but I think overall it's a better product, and I really think Asics knocked it out of the park with this shoe. Plus, according to Asics, the shape of the footbed is based on scans of 1 million different people's feet, which they for some reason have in their database. I guess a lot of shoe companies probably have that. But because the footbed is 3D printed, it allows them to create a shape that is not very easy to mold, and in the future, people could probably scan their foot at Asics and have a 3D printed footbed created just for them right then and there. That's just a whole nother layer. You've got the functionality now, but also the potential in the future. This shoe's awesome. I can't say enough good things about this. The only bad thing I have to say about this shoe is the fact that there's only 2 colorways, and one of them kind of sucks. Sizing wise, the Asics ActiBreeze 3D Sandal 2 does seem to fit pretty much true to size, so that's what I'd recommend grabbing if you're grabbing a pair for yourself, true to size. I love this thing. It's incredible. Sure, it's expensive at $90, but in my opinion, it's worth it. But